Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. A very happy new year to you. Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we discuss various aspects of the paranormal and paranormal exploration. I am your host, Keith Johnson, also the founder of New England Anomalies Research. With me is my co-host, Carl Johnson. Hello there. Happens to be a senior member of New England Anomalies Research, or N.E.A.R, as we refer to it.
No nepotism there.
True. We have a very, very special guest with us today. Matt Moniz has 20 years of experience investigating the paranormal. A chemist by profession, he utilizes his scientific expertise while exploring and analyzing paranormal phenomena. Matt has been included in published works like Witness by Bud Hopkins, Left at East Gate by Larry Warren and Peter Robbins, and Glimpses by Linda Moulton Howe. Matt can also be heard weekly on the paranormal radio show Spooky Southcoast, hosted by Tim Weisberg. Matt functions as the science advisor on Spooky Southcoast. Tim Weisberg, Matt Moniz, and Matt Costa have been broadcasting Spooky Southcoast for approximately 1 year. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming one of the coolest guys you'd ever want to meet, Matt Moniz. Welcome to our show.
Oh, it's hard to live up to that kind of introduction. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Just be cool.
Not a problem.
I've never seen you when you're not cool. Well, how did you get into it? 20 years of exploring and...
20 years of investigating the paranormal. A lot of people ask me, how long have I really been investigating the paranormal? And I've come up with an answer that, to me, is truthful and makes sense. I've been investigating the paranormal as long as it's been investigating me. My first encounter was like at 5 years of age. So that got me wondering as a child, what really is going on with life? What's really happening out there? As I became a young adolescent, I had a penchant for science, and I decided at a young age to become a scientist. And I went through school and into high school. And once I was in high school, I had a series of other paranormal encounters with various types of paranormal phenomena. I was curious and decided, well, why don't I really look into it? So I started delving into every kind of book I could find written on the subject. And paranormal, as you know, covers a lot of different terms. Paranormal isn't just one thing. It, by definition, means all that is unknown, by definition. A lot of things that we have occurring, like ghosts, or in cryptozoology, like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that, to UFOs and life elsewhere, to mediumship, like people that are able to communicate with the dead, psychic abilities. I decided to look into every aspect of it. And I went, researched the books. After I was done with the books, I went and researched the author, found the authors. After I was done with the authors, I went and found the people that the authors wrote about and started, inquiring there, and just leapfrogging my way through, trying to find what the answers I could. Mainly to answer the questions for myself, first and foremost. Like I said, as a scientist, I'm curious by nature. And as a true scientist, I don't just discount anything right off the bat. I don't believe it right off the bat either. I look at it, take it objectively, and then try and take it apart and put it back together, see what parts fit, what parts don't, what makes sense, what doesn't. Okay, if this doesn't make sense, why not? What part of it isn't working right? Is that paranormal in itself as proof because it's not fitting the physics? Now, is it our physics that's wrong, or is it our understanding of how this fits into the physics that's wrong?
So you don't really see a discrepancy between science and paranormal exploration?
No, science started out from paranormal exploration. Early alchemy and studies of spirits and things of that nature. It's how we came to be in the sense of civilization.
Well, while strides have been made to legitimize the field of paranormal investigation, I don't feel a lot of people embrace that as scientific. How would you respond to them? Because we're basically dealing with the unknown, and some people would say the unknowable.
It's not necessarily unknowable. There's a great quote by one of my heroes, and that would be Albert Einstein. And that quote is, as long as we are headed towards the unknown, we are headed in the right direction. And I've lived by that. I'm smart enough as a scientist to know that I don't know everything. And I'm smart enough to know that I know it's not possible for any one of us to know anything, everything. Mm-hmm. So people that think they know the answer really, number one, haven't looked.
Yeah.
Or really, really need to look again if they have.
Well, I think that's a very humanocentric trait, to have difficulty admitting that you don't know what's around you. We like to think that we have everything kind of figured out in our immediate sphere.
Rudimentarily, we know enough to get by. That's the extent of where I'll put it. To say we know things conclusively, not even close. Look at, like I said, I work in the science field. I watch things that are supposed to be etched in stone change every day, especially in analytical chemistry, the field I work in, and pharmaceutical works. We're finding new stuff every day, and things that we thought were ironclad are now unraveling. You can do the same thing if you follow astrophysics. Things that they thought about stars and planets, were absolute for years, are now falling to the wayside left and right. There are no planets out there. They're finding, on average, I think it's something like 4 to 7 planets a day. Wow. around stars. They're finding all kinds of subatomic particles that they only theorized in terms of mathematics regularly. Won't even go into where things are going with cloning and that type of chemistry and biochemistry. Mm-hmm. So to say that we know everything, I mean, they recently shattered the theory about the speed of light, and that was supposed to be an immutable constant. So we really don't know.
That's what I was taught in school. You
Exactly.
can approach the speed of light, but you can't transcend it. You can't exceed it.
So they say.
So they thought.
Right, exactly.
Then again, there is warp drive, so.
But then again, you're not really exceeding the speed of light at warp drive, are
No,
you?
you're actually,
You're bending the space that you want to get to.
right.
To you.
You're actually, so to speak, entering another dimension and traveling through that dimensional plane.
Well, Matt, your take on the UFO phenomenon.
Ooh. I've investigated pretty much every major case in it. From Betty Hill's case, I did analysis on the remains of her dress that she wore that night.
You actually analyzed it?
Yeah, I did. She had a cotton polyester blend, blue and white in color, with a pigment that was a combination between metal and vegetable dye, and part of it had bleached out white, and it was not from sodium hypochlorite, otherwise people know as bleach, or hydrogen peroxide, which is another type of bleach. This was bleached with a high concentration of UV light. Mm-hmm. Now, UV light or sun fade. Now, something doesn't sun fade that quick. You're wearing it one hour, and then it's faded like that in under an hour. That amount of UV light would fry your skin. Okay. The energy required. I did soil analysis on the Bentwaters case. As a matter of fact, I have some of that soil with me. Would you guys like to take a look?
We'd love to take a look.
Certainly.
Okay.
This man comes with evidence.
Okay. Soil on left here is a control sample taken roughly 100 to 150 yards away from where the craft landed. Mm-hmm. This one comes from the center of where the thing landed in the farmer's field. Can you notice the difference between the two?
One's thicker in substance and darker in color. The other is more, I think it's finer and lighter, almost like a brownish
It
sort
does.
of
It looks
salt.
more finely grained.
Okay. That just happens to be the sediment of, but the main part is the coloration.
Yes,
okay.
there is a difference in color.
Definitely
sure.
difference in color.
This
okay.
is a little more grayish by my side.
Right, and this one's a little bit more red or orangish ochre.
Resembles brown sugar, yes.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why this is orange is because it's infused with FeO. Now, FeO is basically meteorite dust. It covers the planet. It only comes from a high oxygen reducing atmosphere. That comes from an iron meteorite entering the atmosphere. All the oxygen is being burnt off, so all you have is the Fe, the iron molecule, and one ion of oxygen. And it takes a very high temperature just to get FeO. We know as Russ as FeO2, which is what we commonly see. But this material coats the planet. The concentration of that material in this sample is almost off the chart. That's why it's red in color. The other part of it is gone from a silica to a silicate, which indicates that it was under a high degree of heat. Correct. So it had meteorite dust being drawn to it electromagnetically in a high temperature atmosphere.
Is this enough evidence?
Not
for you
only
to
that,
draw?
oh, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
that's right.
there's, even 10 years after when I did the samples, there was no microbial life still in the soil. Now,
10 years later.
Soil and plants have a symbiotic relationship. All the crops that were grown in this field, in this spot, come out warped, twisted, what have you, very malformed. There was also a high degree of, like I said, with the silicate in here, it's also what's known as hydroscopic. That means it will not retain water. You put water on this, it'll just roll right off.
What
Whereas
would inhibit, in your opinion, what would inhibit the development of organic properties in that soil?
Well, number one, it's the high concentration of the mineral, number one. It's highly concentrated in iron. Too much iron causes bacteria to, don't want to be in the air, be in the soil. Mainly like nematodes. Nematodes are actually the most abundant form of life on Earth. Most people don't realize they're really, really small worm-like things that live in the soil, and that's what produces. They harvest or take the materials that are degrading out of the organic material, turn it into further nutrients that other bacteria will turn, and then the plants absorb that through the soil back in the carbon and nitrogen cycles.
So my mom was right after all when she told us as kids, don't play in the dirt because you get little worms under your fingernails.
She is essentially correct.
I did not know that.
Now you do.
Thank you very much.
And they're called nematodes.
Wow.
But yeah, even 10 years later, the soil was still essentially sterile.
Excellent. Now, you've been to a number of locations, obviously, that are reputedly haunted.
Yes.
And you've come up with some pretty startling evidence.
You're referring to Waverly Hills?
Yes, I am. This is what I've been waiting for.
Trying to lead smoothly into Waverly Hills.
Nice segue, guys. Nice segue.
That the public in general is not aware of. I'm talking about your evidence in particular.
Right. Most of the public is not aware of me, but if you've been involved in paranormal research, I've looked you up and you know me. But some of my stuff, like I said, is published in books. But I tried to keep a low profile mainly for a number of reasons, number of years. And I'll explain to you why I went really low profile off the air. But I went to Waverly Hills, getting back to that topic.
Yes.
And I was able to acquire something on night vision. It was my buddy Joseph, who is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army. He was an instructor for the M1 tanks at Fort Knox for the last 6 years. A guy very familiar with night vision, thermal imagery. You don't get any better than military training and with that type of equipment that they use.
Yeah, they're the specialists.
Yeah, this guy has spent 20 years looking through, a green screen at things. He knows how to use night vision. He definitely knows how to use thermal imagery. As he put it, I'm supposed to know because in my job, if I can't identify it, I'm dead. So, yeah.
Right, so he's motivated.
For those who are not all that familiar with Waverly Hills, could you give us a brief synopsis of the history?
Waverly Hills, built in the early 1920s on top of a hill, a roughly V-shaped building, 193,000 square feet. It was built as a tuberculosis clinic, back then known as Consumption. From late 1928 all the way up into the 1950s, it was a tuberculosis clinic that had over 63,000 people die in the facility. They had to build a 516-foot long tunnel at roughly a 45-degree angle down off the hill as a body chute. They called it the death tunnel because they were averaging 1 death per hour.
Oh, wow.
That is quite significant. So the place has had many years of pain and misery and death in this very large facility. And after its tour as a tuberculosis clinic, it also wound up as a geriatric center and a mental facility, mental health facility. And then was finally closed down in the late 70s, early 80s, fell into disrepair for a decade and a half, then was bought, thankfully, by the owners, Tina and her husband, the Mattingleys. And they've been trying to restore it now for the past, decade or so. And they've been doing a wonderful job. But there's been dozens and dozens and dozens of reports on pretty much every floor of something happening. As people may be aware with the show Ghost Hunters, as you guys are familiar with TAPS,
Exactly.
obviously, they were able to get a thermal image on one of the floors of it, something running across from room to room. I went to the same location, and what I was able to get was something on night vision in the same exact location. What you'll see if you look on the film directly behind me, you'll see somebody come out of a doorway, look at me like this, and tuck back behind the door frame. The tape will loop several times like that, and then after that,
So you can get a good look at it, yeah.
so you can see that it's actually moving, looking at me, and going back. What's interesting is if you look at the legs, or where the legs should be, you can see right through to the wall behind it. People have said, you know, that it's a reflection in the window. Number one, there's no windows in the place. Number two, it's 3 floors up. Number three, I was also just in that room and can verify that there was nobody in that room, and everybody else that was in that building at that time is standing behind the cameraman.
Well, Sandra and I have watched this footage repeatedly, and we have to say it's an example of, I'd say, one of the most impressive pieces of footage regarding the paranormal we've ever seen. That's
At
my
least
take
at
on it.
Waverly.
Yes.
At least at Waverly. You know,
Still, you're not known for drawing conclusions, though. You more take the
I
approach-
offer what's there. It looks like what it looks like.
Right.
I can verify that there was nobody in that room. I can verify that it's not a reflection, that it's not, you know, what you see is what you see.
And you didn't know about it until you actually
I didn't
saw
know.
the footage yourself.
What's interesting is I was going around the facility looking to record something. This particular spot, I wasn't looking. I was trying to set up the same shot that TAPS had to show for scale. It wasn't part of the actual quote-unquote investigation.
Wow.
It happened where I wasn't looking, which is usually what happens with the paranormal.
Well, let's see if we can bring up that footage now and get a view of it. Well, thank you, Matt. I thought that was so impressive.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
I hope everyone could see that clearly enough. Now, what would you describe that as?
Best thing I could describe it as is some form of apparition.
Seems to be wearing almost like a white coat or something,
Yeah.
or a smock. Or
Yeah, like a. I've had plenty of people say it looks like an orderly.
right. That's what it looks like to me. It just kind of peeks in and fades out.
Yeah.
Well, joining us now is my lovely co-host Sandra Johnson, who is the co-founder of New England Anomalies Research.
Hello. I kind of morphed
Yes,
from
you did.
Carl into Sandra. It happens.
That's frightening.
It's very paranormal.
Don't say that. That's frightening.
I'll investigate it.
Yes, yes, you will. What did you think of the UFO sample, Sandra?
I did think that that was very interesting. I wasn't really following the analyzation of. I did notice that the color change, but I mean, as far as the analyzation, you'd have to go back over that for me. I'm afraid.
Not a problem.
Okay, getting back to Waverly Hills.
Okay.
What did you personally experience there while you were
A
there?
number of different things. The first 15 minutes within the building,
Really?
when we're going through the, when we got there, we met up with Tina Mattingly. She told Joe and I that, you know, we'll have the place to ourselves for the entire evening. And it was just us in that 93,000 square foot building, which if anybody's ever been in that building, they know what I'm talking about. It's huge. Two guys trying to cover that amount of time took all night.
You should have invited us. We could have covered more area for you.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
I'm planning on going back.
Oh, there we go.
We've never been there. The place looks cavernous. I mean,
It is immense. It really is immense.
I'd hate to get lost in there.
It's not easy to get lost. It's just big, long hallways. Big, wide, long hallways with lots and lots and lots and lots of rooms.
But one thing about having a small crew, when you go back and try to analyze your audio, what you've got are probably EVPs. And I
Right.
think you did.
I got one
Record some.
EVP
Oh,
there.
you did?
Yes. And what's interesting is whenever I do EVP recordings, I use two digital recorders side by side.
And did you pick up the EVP on both?
I got it on one. I have one set of EVPs I got at a cemetery that I think I heard play for you guys before. That's on three separate recorders. The same EVP on three separate recorders. One digital super play, one digital extended play, the other analog tape. Three separate mediums, three separate recording rates. All three have the same EVP on it.
That's
Really?
interesting.
As far as I know, I'm the only one to get something like that. Well, it's not just myself. Two of the recorders were mine. One was Matt Costa's, but we're all standing side by side. We all got that one EVP on all three recorders.
Yeah, you're the first one I know. I mean, I know that in our group we've actually been able to record EVPs on two, but
Three?
that's impressive. So what did the EVP say from Waverly? Was it,
Go.
oh, just go?
Yeah.
So it didn't want you there, apparently.
Yeah. Is there anything you want from us? Go.
Oh, you really? You
Oh,
asked?
so it was
Yeah.
really conversing with you.
Yeah. I didn't hear anything, but that's what was on one of the tapes, yeah.
We usually get the equivalent, get out.
Still, when you hear something that you know you didn't hear when you were recording it, is kind of unsettling. So I like EVPs because for me, it's that voice that you always hear in the back of your head now on tape.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, you have a martial arts background, if I may
A little
mention
bit,
that.
yeah.
Oh, don't be so modest. I know you're...
I've done Aikido, I've done Koshiru Kempo. I've been doing martial arts ever since I was like about 12 years old. Off
you're
and
very
on.
Yeah, that's a
proficient.
little.
Well, the past 10 years I really haven't had a chance to do much, but you know, planning the trip out to China this coming year, if that's where you're headed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything-
Tell us a little bit about that.
That's going to be with Jason and Grant from TAPS. It's in November. It's 2 weeks. They're going to do a combination between a series of martial arts stuff with a martial artist that's been in
Hosted by
movies.
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yeah. I didn't know if I could mention names and
Sure,
stuff.
you can
Okay,
mention the
okay.
names,
Cynthia Rothrock, correct. And we will also be touring roughly half a dozen haunted locations within China.
I think that's going to be awesome.
I have every hope of going over there with all kinds of material and coming back with even more.
Come back here, please.
Not a problem.
What are some of the locations?
I'm still waiting to hear
Oh,
back.
you still don't know.
You know, I got the opportunity to just like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, next
Luckily,
time you're
I
on the
speak
show,
Mandarin,
you'll talk
so it
more about
helps.
it.
Yes, it helps to speak Mandarin. Ni hao ma?
How shishi?
I agree. So tell us a little bit about Spooky Southcoast before we wrap up.
All right, Spooky Southcoast, airing 10 to midnight, AM 1420. We also are on various podcasts. Look up any of the podcasting things online, and
Are you
you're able to
live
go.
streaming yet?
we're still waiting to work on that. The station is redoing all of the studios. They're waiting for the rest of all of the new gear. Our studio is being redone. They're redoing some of the FM studio. Once all of the new gear is in, then we're going to start live streaming, yes.
Okay, good.
It is in the works, so just waiting for the technical ends to catch up.
We've been waiting for that.
Yeah. You're coming up on your 1-year anniversary for Spooky
Yes,
Southcoast, right?
and invite here. We'd like to have you in for the 27th as a guest host. Like I said, I'm going to be down in New York at a lecture with Bud Hopkins. Him and I have been friends for the past 20 years and worked closely on a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to be down there doing a live report from down there, but we would love to have you back since it would be the 1-year anniversary and you were our first guest.
Yes, and everything went wrong that night, technically.
I actually wasn't there that night.
Oh, you weren't? I thought you were.
No, I was there the second time you came in.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and what happened the second time? Your second, was it the second your second appearance on their show, where you actually cured the studio?
Yes, when you came back and blessed.
Yes, bless the studio. And everything went fine that night.
Yeah.
And you've
it's
had
been
no
working
glitches
relatively well
since.
since then. So, although they're redoing the studio, so we may need you back again.
Okay.
You know, it's
got it.
like with ghosts, you redo. That's one of the big things I found when people called and says, "My house might be haunted. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing around your house right now." Well, I'm remodeling the. It's like that. I'm waiting for that word because whenever you start, as you guys know, whenever you start redoing a home, that's when activity starts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like change. They like you to keep your stuff the same.
As
Leave
they
it
remember
alone.
it, yeah.
Yes.
As they remember it, yes. Well, I want to thank you so much
Anytime.
for being a wonderful guest on our show. Fascinating. We'll have to have you back again now, you know, because we've just started to cover this.
I would love to come back anytime, Keith. Anytime.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we'll hold you to it.
I'll be here. You just say when, and I'll be here.
Sure.
Thank you for having me on as well, Sandra.
Oh, yes, well, it's been a pleasure. I only wish that I could have been here through the whole show, but, you know, somebody's got to man the cameras and so forth.
Next time. Next time.
Okay.
Sandra, would you like to say a little bit about our contact info?
Yes, I would, as a matter of fact. As always, we'd like you to know that we at New England Anomalies Research are available to research local alleged hauntings or assist those of you who may be experiencing unexplained phenomena in your home or place of business. We'd also like to hear from you if you have a show suggestion or would even like to be a guest on Ghosts Are Near, like our friend Matt here. So give us a shout at Ghosts Are Near at inbox.com and we will believe you.
Excellent. Very good, Sandra. Again, thank you, Matt.
Pleasure.
We'll
Thank
be
you.
seeing you very, very soon.
I'm sure we will.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you again our next episode. Until then, keep safe. God bless. Let's be careful out there. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks.